Whoa, it's the illusion, reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. I think I'd done a better job of this video yesterday, but somehow I hit slow motion and I ruined it. So I thought I'd give it another shot at something I've been thinking about. So the other day I was I don't know, I got down up in my thing came like some clips from Born on the 4th of July, the Tom Cruise movie about Ron Kovic, the gung-ho American youth who goes to the Vietnam War and comes back shattered and paralyzed and becomes an anti-war advocate and whatever, I don't know. I hadn't seen that. I remember that movie being pretty influential on me when I saw it at like 19 or something, right? And and then I just went down into the bunny hole of like just the weird nature of war propaganda and the lie. And when you really start to look at it, you realize that there's just been nothing but lies, man. And that people need to be lied to go to war with each other. And it's all lies. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, what would it look like if people weren't lied to? And I was like, well, they probably wouldn't go to war. And then you kind of have the realization that people are sort of stupid and they're kind of idiotic, and our nature is to be violent and self-serving and all of that stuff, which leads to this violent, fallen state. And then I started to think about, well, maybe the reason all the lies and the insanity is so that we can find our way back home to God. And I was like, well, would the hunger for God exist if it wasn't for the trauma of life on spaceship Earth? The wars, the chaos, the lies, the abuse, the destruction. And then I was like, so what would it look like if everybody wasn't being tricked and lied to into destroying themselves? And then I think about, like, maybe that's what all those buildings all around the planet, the old Greco-Roman buildings, the temple complexes, the cathedrals, the harmonic tuning buildings, all scattered all around the planet from some sort of previous civilization that they lie to us about. And I'm like, well, maybe if the hunger for God is inherent in the human condition, right? The hunger for the understanding of what it is, like, what is that? That we, without being tricked into war and chaos, would actually be expressing ourselves in symmetry and harmony with our environment, with our world, and with our land. And we would build these great buildings of harmonics and understanding, and we would take our desire for God and manifest it in creation, right? And you just get to thinking about what is the lie? And then you realize that there's no greater liar than yourself, right? Like the ultimate liar is to yourself. And why do we lie to ourselves? Is because we don't want to take responsibility for how far off the mark we are, how truly far off the assignment of God we are. So we lie to ourselves, which means that we are able to be lied to, right? If we can lie to ourselves so profoundly, which we all do, which I think is just part of the broken nature of the thing, is we're busy lying to ourselves, so it makes it easy for us to be lied to, because if we could see through their lies, we would see through our own lies. And it's sort of this, downward spiral of lying and self-fulfilling prophecy and the continuation of it. And then I got back to, there's this scene in the Born on the 4th of July where Kovic's back home and he's living with the family and he's in the wheelchair. And his mom was, just your apple pie, suburban, Christian, fight the communist mindset. And he's like, it was all a lie. It was all a lie. And they get into this crazy argument about it being a lie. And I wonder what it would look like without the lie, and why the lie is so easy to perpetrate on people. And then there's this weird sort of paradox, or no, that's not the right word. A bird that can't fly. Anomaly? No, I don't know. I've lost the word I want. But where like people will fall for, like, it's sort of this weird thing with like, well, why would the gatekeepers want to lie to us for war? And it's to make money and all that kind of stuff. But that seems sort of like a dumb reason. Because I think if you truly understand what finances are, it's all fake and fictional and make-believe anyhow. So it would behoove them to make a super harmonic, beautiful world where the profit is this direct line to God. And when I sit here and I think about it, it seems so obvious. And then you look within and you realize like how hard it is to take responsibility for yourself, your own internal freedom, because we come here already so jacked up, dude. We've been so lied to and manipulated, and we have these just inherent defects of character that have been placed upon us by a society that's nurtured lies versus truth. And what is the truth? What is the truth? That's the struggle. Like, what is the truth when everything's a lie? And so going back to it, I can look, and I think this is I think this is the difference between someone who's 19 and someone who's 55, right? When I was 19, I was luckily intuitive enough to know that something wasn't right. I didn't exactly know what it was, but I knew that it wasn't in the status quo. And so I was able to kind of tune my mind to alternative frequencies. It wasn't that the system was a big lie. That is actually just profoundly continued to like grow in understanding through the years. And now at 55, I can look back on my life and be like, every war since I was born was based upon a lie. Every military engagement by this country has been predicated on a lie. And I'm like, how do they get away with it? And you realize that they get away with the lie because people don't want to be responsible for themselves. Because in order to be responsible for yourself, you have to admit that you're the ultimate liar to yourself. It's a very interesting catch-22 where seeing that everything is a lie is pretty painful, man. It's and you can get into that sort of aspect of like, well, what's the point? What's the point of all this if everything's a lie? And I think that's what they want you to do. They want you to give up. And that's why they shroud all the knowledge and secrecy. And I think that like when I sit here now, you know, I've been making videos here for what, 14 years? Like the uncovering of like the harmonic frequencies and the high frequency way and all of that stuff was sort of uncovering the truth. And then you get to a point where like it inverts itself, where if like that we live in a society of lies and almost everything's a lie, where you really begin to not and this is, I think, that like the sort of circuit breaker on the whole thing is like once you realize that most of the superficial stuff is a bold-faced lie, and look no further than war. Like everyone gets all weird about like flat Earth and you know, the moon landing and all these sort of truth or thought patterns, but then you go, you don't need to look any further than war. Like any further than our history of wars in the last 60 years. They were all based upon lies. I mean, weapons of mass destruction, the communists' threat, and all of it, it's all been just lie after lie. And so if you look there, and you get why people are hanging on to the lie, is because if you admitted the lie, you would realize that like you're just sending people to die for a lie, and that's crappy. And who wants to admit that? And then there's the circuit breaker with that is well, what do you like? You don't get all your like trinkets and stuff, and so I wonder like right now in 2025, like with what's going on is how gnarly the lie is, man. Because it seems to me that like we're just getting completely lied to right now, like, and it's based upon the fact that we don't want to get lied to, but no one seems to want to look through the past that it is all the war. That you don't need to look any further than the concept. It goes back to the scene in Born on the 4th of July when he's yelling at his mom. He's like, "Thou shalt not kill." Like, you taught me that thou shalt not kill. Like, that's it. Thou shalt not kill, man. So how can we manifest God if we're justifying like killing and all this stuff? Like that's the great lie. We don't need, and they get us on these other like rabbit trails of trying to, you know, it's the moon landing and it's this and it's like, no, the great lie was to convince you that it's okay to justify war and violence and you have enough knowledge to be like, it's all been lies. So and why would they I just don't get what the benefit of it is. And then you go, all right, they're vampires and bloodsuckers, but we have proof that there was some sort of civilization on this planet, if not different ones, if it's the pyramids all around the planet, or it's the Greco-Roman Antiquitech all over the planet, that there were societies that were based upon harmony, that had the mastery of building in the grace of God. And so why do the controllers don't want that profitable thing? Is it maybe that like, if you actually achieve a society of harmony and balance, you don't really need to inhabit this anymore? That you don't need to inhabit this lower dimensional reality? That like, when you truly can dedicate your whole society and your consciousness to building this electromagnetic reality into a harmonic relationship and manifestation with God, how long do you really need to hang out down here, right? And maybe that's the rub. Maybe that's the trick. I don't know. I've been in this interesting thing of the last couple years is, there's an ongoing in your face genocide going on in Gaza. Just in your face genocide. Like, yeah, and everyone's just trying to justify it. There's no justifying. And it's like the insanity of what's going on in the wheat fields of Eastern Europe. Insanity. There's no justification. It's all lies. It's all lie after lie after lie. But how do they get away with the lie? And you just realize that it's because people don't want to admit the truth, that they lie to themselves all day long to fit into the lie. It's like, in order to do this thing, you have to lie to yourself to sustain yourself in the lie. If you tell the truth in the lie, the door closes. Like, and I think that's what's going on right now is the Orange Man is the setup to close the door on the last holdouts of truth telling. Because like, this all just seems to be like the greatest lies ever, which is just ironic. I don't know, man. It just trips me out. It just trips me out that the humans are just repeating the same stupid mistake over and over again, and not realizing that, yeah, it is pretty level. It is pretty simple, dude. Do unto your brothers as you would have them do unto you. Thou shalt not kill. The basic premise of the 10 Commandments. And it's just interesting to watch how people in this time right now can convince themselves to abandon, teachings from on high, and also just, you think about the abandonment of principles of Magna Carta and Black's Law and all this kind of stuff right now, where just the principles of truth and dignity are being abandoned for the creature comforts of signing up for a society that's about violence and war and chaos. Like, it's not very godly. I don't know. That's what I had my video yesterday was way more concise, but like I said, it got scrambled. So it's round 2 on this. Anyways, The Illusion signing off. Links down below. Get some t-shirts, PayPal, buy some art, all that kind of stuff. And let's keep trying to break free of the lie, man, by telling ourselves the truth, that we're the greatest liars we've ever met. And use the name tags out there. All right, it's The Illusion signing off.